What makes you happy?
This?
Yeah. What makes me happy?
Yeah. What was like the happiest moment you had in the last 12 months?
I enjoy discussing theology with people.
It brings you joy.
I like debates and discussions about philosophy and theology. My happiest moments are spent sort of sparring with somebody in a way that a boxer might spar with an opponent, knowing that they're not really trying to kill each other, but they're essentially doing a kind of sport which does have an undertone of genuine
Have you ever
fitness.
boxed before?
No, only in a...
It's not really enjoyable, dude. Sparring is not enjoyable. No? It's scary. It hurts.
So why do it?
Because you want to get better at something. Mm-hmm. And it gives you confidence knowing that like the things you practice, you can actually execute.
Yeah, so that's true of philosophy too.
Yeah. But the act thereof, especially if you're losing, and a lot of times when we're sparring against like better guys, it's costly.
Certainly some boxers like sparring.
Yeah, there must be people who...
Floyd.
And it's not... It's
but
not,
the guy who's Floyd is fighting is not like, this is the best thing I've ever done in my entire life.
Yeah.
It's not like you enjoy it, like you don't like enjoy getting punched in the face, but you enjoy the
thrill of being in the moment.
The thrill of what you're doing,
yeah,
right? And it's a similar kind of thing with debate and discussion. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
So I enjoy debates. I enjoy discussions. I do think debates are a bit sort of useless. They're just theatre. They are just, I always compare them to boxing matches where a boxing match will tell you
people who've never boxed often do that. Comedians do that all the time. But like, it's just like boxing, and it's like,
but what I mean
boxed.
specifically is that like a boxing match tells you who's the better boxer, but it doesn't tell you who's the better fighter.
How so?
Because like,
do you find fighting is like I could grab a tool and
exactly right? So it's like you could outbox somebody because you're a professional boxer, but if you meet them in a bar and you just want to kill
totally
each other,
different scenario.
It's you might have slightly like better predictive odds if they're better at boxing, but you don't know that for sure. And it's kind of the same thing with debate. It's like if you have a debate with someone, you're going to find out who's the better debater. Yeah. Like Ben Shapiro can crush someone in a debate.
Yeah.
But like, is there actually any substance there? It doesn't mean he's a great thinker, you know?
Maybe.
You know what I mean?
I mean, I guess it depends on like what he's talking about.
Yeah, and so there's not an obvious link. So for me, a debate is essentially like theatre.
So you enjoy the stakes of debate, and you get to use the skills that you've worked on.
It's like stand-up, to be honest, more than boxing.
Yeah. You're probably right. Yeah.
Yeah, because stand-up is really fun.
Yeah.
When it's going well, and when it's not going well,
What's the worst experience you had?
I've had so many.
It's just infinite.
Part of getting better is just bombing over and over again. His learning curve was actually shorter than anyone else's I've ever seen. Mine was not.
You ever done like therapy, like rejection therapy style thing, where you like bomb on purpose just to like toughen yourself up for it?
I did that subconsciously. I was. yeah.
Very smart. The reason I ask is because like so much focus on. I don't think you're focusing on specifically yourself, but like breaking down like what is life, what is existence, what are the reasons for a behavior. What did they say? I think it was Chris Rock was like, if ignorance is bliss, I'm the opposite of that. I'm constantly aware and acutely aware of everything I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And like, that's tough. And I imagine like, as you go through these thought experiments, you're definitely reflecting on your own life. And I wonder if there's a moment where like, you just go get drunk and you're like, I'm not even going to worry about
this is true. It's like I don't have an interesting answer to your question because I'm the same as anybody else. I enjoy spending time with my friends and my family and the people I care about. I enjoy listening to music. I enjoy watching TV. I listen to a lot of like sad boy indie music.
It's not working out.
Yeah.
No, but like, can you separate? Is there something?
Can you turn it off?
Yeah, not even like. Yeah. Maybe that is.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Can you just like, let's say, and I'm sure you're able to do this, but like when you're watching a movie. Like if we're watching comedy, it's probably harder for us to turn it off, right? We're like more analyzing it, et cetera. Yeah. And I imagine you're doing that with like life, human interaction, and decision making. How do you, like, let's say you're talking to a girl at a bar and she starts talking about astrology. Like, can you indulge her as any guy would just meeting a new girl? Or do you have to be like, this girl's retarded. Like there is nothing about Mercury in retrograde and this is a...
I think that it doesn't make it any more difficult, like having done philosophy. If you think astrology is bullshit, you think it's bullshit, right?
Right.
And the reason why I probably wouldn't like entertain it isn't because like I'm a philosopher and I care about what's truth, but just because I don't like lying in the sense of like, if I know I'm not going to get on with you in 2 weeks because we're going to have this different way of viewing the world, then I better just be upfront and be like, actually, I don't believe in any of that.
So that's a deal.
Good luck to you.
That's a deal breaker.
Not a deal
for
breaker,
you?
but it depends how they react to it, right? Like if
also how they look a little bit.
that's also quite important. If they
be
sort
real
of,
for a bit.
if they sort of say like, oh, I'm really into astrology, and you're like, well, I think that's bullshit, and they're like, oh, cool, yeah, I know a lot of people think that way, but like, here's why I think it's true. Then cool, great, we're off to the races.
Yeah.
But if it's obviously like a sort of like, oh, you know,
Is there a moment where like you find yourself specifically turning it off because it inhibits your joy for that like bachelor party or that birthday or
So,
or are you analyzing like,
well, it's funny, I don't tend to get invited to many, so I don't know.
Jordan, I'm not trying to gas you and compare you to Michael Jordan, but there was an interview with him at 50 where he's like, God gave me this gift, which was competitiveness, and I can't turn it off. Now I'm competing in fucking Sudoku or whatever, whatever thing he picks up, he is obsessively competitive, and he's not that happy about it. He's like, this was awesome, but now I don't need it and I can't turn it off. Can you do that at a birthday party? Can you turn off that party that's like, what is a birthday even, or whatever? You know what I mean?
Like, not exactly, but in practice, yeah. Like I'm
and what is this scenario? Like, is there a concert? Like, what makes you just cry and you're like, I'm not going to analyze why I'm emotional right now. I'm just going to let this happen and have this genuine human experience without thinking about it.
I try very hard to allow experiences to be what they are. And I think more than most people who are interested in philosophy, I do kind of see through it a bit. Like, I think that a lot of the syllogistic reasoning and premise this and premise that.
What's syllogistic reasoning?
A syllogism is like a form of argument that goes premise, conclusion. And like trying to formalize everything into those terms is just not how people like actually interact with the world.
Right.
Like, and philosophy is not how people actually make big life decisions. I used to have this bit where I'd talk about a guy who's about to throw himself off a bridge. He's about to kill himself, and someone comes up to him and he's like, what are you doing, man? Like, gosh, like, do you have a family? And the guy's like, oh, yeah, no, I suppose I do have a family, actually. And they care about you, right? It's like, yeah, you know, my wife, she doesn't even know I'm here. It's like, oh, goodness. And he's talking, he's like, you know, I've been in that situation, starts sharing his experience and all of this kind of stuff. And then he's like, you've got a cross on your neck. Are you a Christian? He's like, yeah. He's like, well, you know, Jesus loves you and I'm a follower of Christ too. And talking him around, and he really like emotionally finally decides like, okay, fine, I think I can. And he starts climbing back over the bridge. And then he suddenly remembers that like the 14th premise of the modal ontological argument fails because of some philosophical like logical fallacy. And so he throws himself off the bridge.
Yeah. So how do you stop yourself from
it's just
doing
like
that?
it's just, but it's, you don't have to, because that's not how people
That's
think.
not how
In those
you
moments,
operate or anybody else
if the
does,
moment
right.
is actually emotional enough like that, I mean, it can be interesting. Like if you're at a music concert and you're like getting goosebumps, and instantly you're thinking like, whoa, and you do think like, isn't that an interesting evolutionary trait? Like, why do we get goosebumps, whatever? But you're still feeling the goosebumps, man. Like, it's not gonna, and you kind of don't want to switch it off because you find it quite fun. Like, you're comedians, right?
Yeah.
So I'm told, and you presumably, if I ask you something about like your love and your profession, like, do you ever turn off being funny? It's like, well, yeah, I mean, kind of, but like, not. It's not like I like get home and I'm like, okay, I'm going to intentionally now turn off being funny.
Right.
It's just that sometimes you're just not in the mood for it. You know, you're
Yeah.
tired or whatever. You're not in the mood for it, and then you don't have to turn it off. It's
But
just,
there are certain comedians that you're like, I wish you would just turn it off, because it seems like and I'm sure we've done it even on the pod today, but like, you know, you're just trying to have maybe like a thoughtful conversation, and then if something organically becomes funny, you do it. But
oh yeah, you haven't done that at all.
no, not a single time. But meaning more like maybe like sometimes you're talking to someone, it's like it just feels like they're waiting to say the bit instead of like actually listening to what you're saying and like thinking about it.
Yeah, that's right.
And that is a balance on a
and there's
comedy
certainly,
pod
like,
for sure.
there'll be times when you do turn off the comedy, and like if you're at a funeral or something, you're not going to start cracking jokes.
I found as I did comedy more, got better at it, got more acclaim at it, that part of me that needed that validation is much quieter.
Yeah.
So off stage, I don't feel the need to do it.
Yeah.
And you can tell when someone wishes they could have done comedy or isn't where they want to be, and then they're really forcing that. I get a little irritated, but I also have empathy, and I'm like, oh, I'd probably, like, we would go to diners early in our career and make the biggest scenes, and it's probably
Just
we
attention,
needed that attention because we weren't getting it.
And there's the equivalent of that in philosophy, when it's like, when you sort of say to somebody like, oh, hey, happy birthday, man. And they're like, birthdays are arbitrary, man. Like,
Yeah.
So like, even if you actually think that, like, yeah, okay, you shouldn't like be sort of, you can tell when someone's like putting it, not even putting it on, but like they're enjoying the fact that that's who they are, right? But the thing is, when you switch it off, like you're at a funeral and you're not cracking jokes, if like, you know, if the guy at the front, if the priest or whatever looks at the coffin and says, you know, just looking at her now, you know, like in the coffin, it just makes it so hard. you're not going to not think of the joke. You're not going to not find it funny, but you're just not going to say it, right?
Yeah.
And so there are situations in which you turn it off in the sense where you decide, I'm not going to like start talking about this, but it's still like there. Obviously, it's still like you're still thinking.
But you can
about
still
stuff.
process the emotion in an authentic way without analyzing the emotion.
I'm interested in philosophy, right? But everybody does this. Like you've been at parties and you suddenly are like, sort of like, man, what's everyone doing? Like you start thinking about like social interactions and how weird it'll like. Everybody does this, right? Like I'm not some like.
It's a very normal thing that people do. I feel like you probably just do it more. And then I'm wondering what the emotional cost of that is.